Have you ever, like, seen someone and thought they were totally asleep,
Yeah.
but then they, like, totally weren't?
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
I remember this one time I was at a concert, and there's this person standing completely still, eyes closed, head tilted back.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, they must be out cold. But then the music shifted,
Mm-hmm.
and they started, like, nodding their head to the beat.
Uh-huh. It's funny how we make these assumptions about sleep based on outward appearances.
It really is. Kind of makes you wonder how we really know when someone, or even ourselves, is actually asleep, you
Yeah.
know? Like, what's the scientific definition of sleep?
Well, that's a great question, and it's something scientists have been exploring for decades. In our last couple of deep dives, we talked about the circadian rhythm and how our bodies naturally cycle between sleep and wakefulness. But this time, we're going even deeper into the very essence of sleep itself. How do we define it? What are the hallmarks? And how do our brains actually generate this state of being?
Right, because it's not just about closing our eyes and drifting off. There's a whole lot more going on at a neurological level.
Absolutely. So let's start with the basics. How do we actually know if someone is asleep? Think about the cues we use in everyday life.
Okay, so if I see someone lying down horizontal, still not responding to anything, I'd probably assume they're asleep.
You got it. We instinctively look for those telltale signs. The stereotypical sleep positions, decreased muscle tone, lack of communication.
It's like our bodies just naturally relax and kind of surrender to sleep.
Exactly. And there's reason for that. During sleep, our brains essentially put the brakes on a lot of our voluntary muscle activity, which helps conserve energy and allows our bodies to truly rest and repair.
Makes sense. It's like our brains are saying, okay, time to power down for a bit.
And there are a few other key factors that distinguish sleep from other states, like a coma.
Okay, what are those?
Well, for one thing, sleep is easily reversible. A gentle nudge or a sudden noise can bring someone out of sleep pretty quickly. Unlike a coma, which is much harder to rouse someone from.
Right, it's like sleep has this built-in alarm system ready to snap us back to wakefulness if needed.
Exactly. And another important difference is that sleep is tied to our circadian rhythm, that internal clock we talked about before. It ensures that our sleep-wake cycles are aligned with the natural world's patterns of light and darkness.
It's like our bodies are programmed to know when to wind down and when to be alert, following those ancient rhythms of day and night.
Precisely. So we've talked about how we recognize sleep in others, but what about ourselves? How do we know when we've been asleep?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, beyond just waking up in a different spot on the couch than where I fell asleep.
Right? It goes beyond just physical position. It comes down to a change in our awareness of the external world. Think about it. When you're truly asleep, you're not consciously processing information from your senses in the same way you do when you're awake.
So it's like a temporary sensory shutdown.
You got it.
Oh.
Your ears might still pick up sounds, but your brain isn't actively interpreting them. Your eyes might register light, but you're not consciously seeing anything. It's like someone's flipped a switch, cutting off the feed from the outside world.
No wonder it can be so disorienting to be suddenly woken up. It's like our brains are scrambling to reconnect to reality, to make sense of where we are and what's going on.
Exactly. And it's not just the external world that gets distorted during sleep. Our perception of time also changes.
Oh, yeah, totally. I'm terrible at estimating how long I've napped. Sometimes it feels like just a few minutes have passed, but then I look at the clock and it's been an hour.
It's like time takes on a whole different dimension when we're asleep. While we're unconscious, we lose track of time consciously, but at the same time, our brains are still keeping incredibly accurate time subconsciously.
Wait, so our brains are keeping time even when we're not aware of it? That's wild.
It is. And this explains how we can sometimes wake up moments before our alarms go off. Some part of our brain is diligently tracking the minutes, even when we're not consciously aware of it. It's like having a hidden timekeeper working behind the scenes.
That's amazing. It's like our brains have this incredible ability to multitask, even when we're seemingly unconscious. But I've always wondered, is sleep just one big uniform state? Or are there different types of sleep? Like, do our brains just kind of switch off and then switch back on again?
That's a fantastic question, and it leads us to one of the most groundbreaking discoveries in sleep science. The realization that sleep is not just one state, but rather a dynamic cycle of different stages, each with its unique characteristics and purpose.
Okay. Now I'm really intrigued. Tell me more about these different sleep stages.
Well, it all started back in 1952 with a graduate student named Eugene Oserinsky and his mentor, Nathaniel Kleitman.
Ah, I remember reading about them. They were pioneers in sleep research, weren't they?
Oserinsky was studying eye movements in infants when he noticed something peculiar. There were periods of sleep where the baby's eyes would dart back and forth beneath their eyelids.
Like they were watching something, even though their eyes were closed.
Exactly. And these periods of rapid eye movement, or REM sleep, were accompanied by surprisingly active brainwaves, almost as if the infants were awake.
So even babies experience these different types of sleep. That's fascinating.
It is, and it suggests that these different sleep stages are fundamental to our biology, not just something that develops later in life.
So Azarinsky and Kleitman, they basically stumbled upon this hidden landscape of sleep, this realization that there's more to sleep than meets the eye.
They did, and their discovery revolutionized our understanding of sleep. It paved the way for decades of research into the different stages of sleep and their unique functions.
So tell me more about these different stages of sleep. How do they differ from each other? And what's happening in our brains during each stage?
Well, along with another sleep scientist named William Dement, they were able to delve deeper into the mysteries of sleep using a technique called polysomnography, or
It
PSG.
says, gee, that's like having a multi-channel recording of the brain and body during sleep.
You got it. It's like hooking someone up to all sorts of sensors to track things like brainwave activity, eye movements, muscle activity, heart rate, breathing, you name it.
So it's like having a window into the secret world of sleep, seeing what's happening beneath the surface.
Precisely. And through PSG, they were able to uncover the nuances of those two main types of sleep, REM and NREM, which stands for non-rapid eye movement.
Okay, so REM sleep is that stage with the rapid eye movements and the active brain waves. But what about NREM sleep? What's going on there?
Well, NREM sleep is actually divided into 4 stages, each progressively deeper. It's like descending a staircase into the depths of slumber.
So it's like our brains are shifting gears as we drift deeper into sleep, moving from a state of wakeful chaos to a more organized and tranquil rhythm.
Exactly. And each of these NREM stages plays a different role in the overall symphony of sleep, contributing to things like physical restoration and memory consolidation. But we'll delve deeper into those different stages and their functions in the next part of our deep dive.
This is all so fascinating. I can't wait to learn more about the specifics of those NREM stages. But before we move on, I'm really curious about REM sleep. If that's when we dream, and dreams can be so full of movement and action, why are our bodies basically paralyzed during that stage?
Ah, yes. The paradox of REM sleep. Our brains are throwing a wild party, but our bodies are essentially stuck wearing a straitjacket. It's one of the most intriguing aspects of this sleep stage.
It really is. So why is that? Why do our bodies become paralyzed during REM sleep?
Well, scientists believe it's a brilliant evolutionary adaptation. Think about it. Dreams can be full of running, jumping, fighting, all sorts of vigorous activities.
And if our bodies weren't temporarily immobilized, we might actually act out those dream movements in real life, which could be pretty dangerous.
Exactly. It's like evolution recognized the potential hazards of dreaming and provided us with a safety feature to ensure we don't harm ourselves or others while our minds are off on those nightly adventures.
Wow, that's incredible. So muscle paralysis during REM sleep, as strange as it might seem, is actually a sign that our brains are working to keep us safe.
Precisely. It's a reminder that even the things that seem strange or counterintuitive about sleep often have a deeper purpose, a way of protecting us and ensuring our well-being.
Well, I'm definitely starting to appreciate the complexities of sleep. It's not just about resting and recharging. It's a whole intricate dance of brain activity, physiological changes, and even protective mechanisms.
Absolutely. And in our next deep dive, we'll explore those complexities even further, delving into the specific stages of NREM sleep, the science of dreaming, and the crucial role that sleep plays in both our physical and mental health. So stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into the fascinating world of sleep. You know, it's really amazing to think about all the intricate activity happening in our brains while we're seemingly unconscious.
Right? It's like a whole other world is unfolding within us each night.
Absolutely. And in the last part of our deep dive, we explored how scientists define sleep, those distinct stages we cycle through, and those remarkable changes in brainwave activity.
It's incredible to realize that our brains are far from idle during sleep. They're actively consolidating memories, processing emotions, and maybe even sparking creative breakthroughs.
Precisely. It's like the secret nocturnal world, a world we're only beginning to understand.
Absolutely. And I'm really curious to explore how our brains generate those different sleep stages, what's actually happening at a neurological level that causes us to shift from wakefulness to deep sleep and then into that dream-filled state of REM sleep.
That's a great question. And to answer it, we need to dive into the fascinating realm of sleep neurobiology. Imagine the brain as this vast network of interconnected neurons, constantly communicating through electrical and chemical signals.
Okay, I'm picturing this intricate web of neurons firing off messages like a complex communication system.
Precisely. During wakefulness, that neural chatter is fast-paced and chaotic, with different brain regions processing a constant stream of information from our senses, thoughts, and emotions.
It's almost like a bustling city with traffic flowing in all directions, everyone rushing about, doing their own thing.
That's a great analogy. But as we begin to transition into sleep, this neural activity starts to change. The fast, chaotic firing patterns slow down and become more synchronized, like the city lights dimming and the traffic calming as everyone prepares for the night.
So as we drift off, our brains essentially shift from a state of high alert to a more relaxed and organized mode of operation.
Exactly. And as we enter those deeper stages of NREM sleep, that synchronization becomes even more pronounced. We see those characteristic slow waves originating in the frontal lobes, spreading across the entire brain.
We talked about those slow waves before, and I'm curious to know more about how they spread and synchronize across the brain. What's the mechanism behind that coordination?
That's where the interplay of different neurotransmitters comes into play. Our brains rely on a delicate balance of excitatory and inhibitory signals to regulate neural activity. You can think of it like a seesaw, with some neurotransmitters pushing the brain toward wakefulness and others pulling it toward sleep.
So it's about finding that perfect balance, the right mix of signals to guide our brain smoothly from wakefulness into sleep.
Precisely. One of the key players in promoting sleep is a neurotransmitter called GABA, which stands for gamma-aminobutyric acid. GABA acts like a neural tranquilizer, inhibiting or dampening the activity of neurons, making them less likely to fire.
So GABA is essentially turning down the volume on those excitatory signals that keep us awake and alert, allowing for the emergence of those slow, synchronized brainwaves we see in NREM sleep.
Exactly. It's like GABA is the conductor gently guiding the orchestra into a slower, more harmonious rhythm. And this synchronized activity during deep sleep isn't just a random occurrence. It's thought to play a crucial role in memory consolidation, which we touched on earlier.
Yes. We talked about the brain being like a nocturnal artist, sculpting and reshaping our memories while we sleep. But I'm eager to understand more about how those slow waves actually help solidify those memories.
Imagine you're trying to learn a new skill, like playing a musical instrument or mastering a dance move. You practice diligently during the day, but those movements still feel awkward and uncoordinated.
Oh, I can definitely relate to that feeling of struggling to get something new into my memory.
Now, during those deep stages of NREM sleep, those slow brain waves act like a replay button, allowing your brain to rehearse those newly acquired skills offline, so to speak.
So it's like our brains are practicing in our sleep, refining those neural connections that represent the new skill or the information we're trying to learn.
Exactly. And this process of reactivation and strengthening helps transfer those memories from the fragile short-term storage in the hippocampus to more permanent long-term storage in the cortex.
So it's like those slow waves are etching those memories into the very fabric of our brains, making them more durable and accessible.
Beautifully put. And this process of memory consolidation isn't limited to physical skills. It applies to all sorts of learning and experiences, from facts and figures to emotional memories, and even those creative ideas that pop into our heads seemingly out of nowhere.
So every night, while we're blissfully unaware, our brains are essentially sifting through the day's events, deciding what to keep, what to discard, and how to organize all that information into a cohesive narrative of our lives.
That's right. And this intricate process of memory curation is crucial for learning adaptation and our overall cognitive function.
It's truly remarkable to think that something as seemingly passive as sleep plays such an active role in shaping who we are and how we experience the world.
It really highlights the profound importance of sleep for our well-being, both mentally and physically. But let's not forget about that other fascinating state of sleep, REM sleep, the stage where dreams take center stage.
Yes. Let's talk about dreams. I'm still intrigued by the fact that our brains look electrically awake during REM sleep, even though our bodies are essentially paralyzed.
It is one of the most fascinating paradoxes of sleep, isn't it? And while we don't have all the answers yet, researchers believe that this surge in brain activity during REM sleep is crucial for several important processes.
Okay, I'm eager to hear more about those processes. What are some of the leading theories about what our brains are up to while we're off on those bizarre and often fantastical dream adventures?
One prominent theory is that REM sleep plays a key role in emotional regulation. During this stage of sleep, our brains are particularly active in areas associated with emotions, like the amygdala and the hippocampus.
So it's like our brains are taking the time to process and integrate emotional experiences from the day, helping us to make sense of those feelings, and perhaps even to regulate our emotional responses. It's like our brains are doing some emotional housekeeping while we sleep.
Exactly. And this emotional processing might explain why dreams can sometimes be so intense and emotionally charged. They could be a way for our brains to work through and regulate those emotions in a safe and contained environment, without the constraints of logic or the need to act on those feelings.
It's like our brains are having a good cry or a cathartic release of pent-up emotions, all while we're sound asleep.
That's a great way to put it. And this emotional regulation function of REM sleep is likely crucial for our mental health and well-being.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If our brains aren't able to process and regulate emotions effectively,
Hmm.
it could lead to problems like anxiety and depression. We need that time to process and make sense of our emotional landscape.
Precisely. And there's growing evidence to support that idea. Studies have shown that people who are chronically sleep deprived, especially those who miss out on REM sleep, are more likely to experience mood swings, irritability, and even symptoms of anxiety and depression.
So getting enough REM sleep isn't just about feeling refreshed and alert. It's also crucial for maintaining our emotional balance and resilience.
Absolutely. But emotional regulation isn't the only theory about the function of REM sleep. Another fascinating idea is that REM sleep might be a time for creative thinking and problem solving.
Really? I'm curious to hear more about that. How could those bizarre and often nonsensical dreams lead to creative insights or help us solve problems that have been stumping us?
Some researchers believe that during REM sleep, our brains are able to make new and unexpected connections between ideas, connections that might not have occurred to us in our working lives. It's like our brains are playing with different concepts and scenarios, trying out different combinations to see what works.
So while we're sleeping, our brains are essentially brainstorming, exploring possibilities that we might have dismissed as too far-fetched during our waking hours.
Exactly. And this process of free association and creative exploration might explain why some people report having aha moments or sudden bursts of inspiration after a good night's sleep. Those seemingly random dreams might actually be the result of our brains working behind the scenes to solve problems and generate new ideas.
It's like those dreams that seem so random and illogical could be our brains working through creative blocks, trying out different solutions, and perhaps even stumbling upon unexpected insights that could lead to breakthroughs in our waking lives.
That's the fascinating possibility, and there's some evidence to support this idea. Studies have shown that people who are allowed to sleep after learning a new task or trying to solve a problem often perform better than those who are kept awake. Sleep seems to enhance our ability to make connections and see things from new perspectives.
So sleep isn't just about resting and recharging our batteries. It's also a time for our brains to do some serious creative heavy lifting, working on those problems that have been eluding us and perhaps even paving the way for new discoveries and innovations.
Indeed, it highlights the incredible power of sleep to enhance our cognitive abilities and unlock our creative potential.
This is all so mind-blowing. I'm starting to see sleep not just as a necessity, but as a superpower, a secret weapon that allows us to tap into hidden reserves of creativity and insight.
I love that perspective. It emphasizes that we should prioritize sleep not just for our physical health, but also for our cognitive and emotional well-being. It's an investment in our overall potential.
Absolutely. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive. We've explored the neurobiology of sleep, the role of neurotransmitters like GABA, and those fascinating theories about the functions of NREM and REM sleep.
We have, but there's still one crucial piece of the puzzle we haven't addressed yet, and that's the interplay between sleep and our physical health. We focus primarily on the cognitive and emotional benefits of sleep, but what about its impact on our bodies?
You're right. We've talked about how sleep helps our brains. But what about the rest of our physical systems? How does sleep contribute to our overall physical well-being?
Well, it turns out that sleep is just as crucial for our physical health as it is for our mental health. During sleep, our bodies are busy repairing and restoring tissues, regulating hormones, and boosting our immune systems.
So it's like our bodies have this incredible ability to heal and rejuvenate themselves while we sleep. It's like an overnight maintenance crew working tirelessly to keep our bodies in tip-top shape.
That's a fantastic analogy. So let's start by talking about the role of sleep in physical repair and restoration.
Okay, I'm ready to learn how sleep helps our bodies bounce back from the wear and tear of daily life. We put our bodies through a lot. So I'm curious to know how sleep helps us recover and rebuild.
During sleep, our cells have a chance to regenerate and repair themselves. This process is especially important for tissues that experience a lot of stress during the day, such as our muscles and skin.
So it's like our bodies are hitting the reset button, allowing our cells to rebuild and recover from all the demands we place on them.
Exactly. And this cellular restoration is essential for maintaining our physical health and preventing premature aging.
I can see how chronic sleep deprivation could lead to all sorts of physical problems if our bodies aren't getting the chance to repair themselves properly. It's like running a machine without ever giving it a chance to cool down or be serviced.
You're absolutely right. Studies have shown that people who consistently get less than 7 hours of sleep per night are at increased risk for a wide range of health problems, including obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and even certain types of cancer.
Those are some serious consequences. It really underscores the importance of prioritizing sleep for the sake of our long-term health. It's not just about feeling good. It's about giving our bodies the time they need to maintain themselves and function optimally.
Absolutely. But it's not just about cellular repair. Sleep also plays a crucial role in regulating hormones.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this hormonal symphony that unfolds while we sleep. What are some of the key players, and how do they contribute to our overall health?
Well, during sleep, our bodies release a variety of hormones that are essential for growth, metabolism, and immune function. One of the most important of these hormones is growth hormone, which you might associate with childhood and adolescence, but it actually plays a vital role throughout our lives.
Growth hormone. I remember learning about it in biology class, but I thought its main role was in childhood development.
It's true that growth hormone is essential for growth spurts during childhood and adolescence, but it also plays a crucial role in muscle growth, bone density, and cell regeneration throughout our lives.
So even as adults, we still need growth hormone to keep our bodies strong and healthy. That's fascinating. So how does sleep factor into this?
The majority of growth hormone release occurs during those deep stages of NREM sleep, particularly during the first few hours of sleep.
So those deep slow wave stages aren't just good for our brains, they're also essential for our physical rejuvenation and repair. It's like our bodies are taking advantage of that quiet time to focus on rebuilding and replenishing.
Precisely. And another important hormone that's regulated during sleep is cortisol, often referred to as the stress hormone.
Cortisol. I know it's associated with stress, but I'm not sure I understand exactly what it does or how it's regulated.
Cortisol helps our bodies respond to challenging situations, giving us that extra boost of energy when we're facing a stressful situation.
So it's like our body's alarm system, preparing us to deal with threats or challenges.
That's a great way to think about it. Cortisol levels are typically highest in the morning, helping us to wake up and feel alert. They gradually decline throughout the day, reaching their lowest point during sleep.
So sleep helps to reset our cortisol levels, giving our bodies a break from that constant state of alertness and allowing the stress response to calm down.
Exactly, and this is crucial for preventing the negative health consequences of chronic stress, such as high blood pressure, weakened immune function, and even weight gain.
It's like sleep gives our bodies a chance to de-stress and recharge, both physically and mentally, preparing us to face the challenges of a new day with more resilience and energy.
Beautifully put. And speaking of the immune system, sleep plays a vital role in keeping our defenses strong.
I've definitely noticed that I'm more susceptible to getting sick when I'm sleep deprived. There's definitely a connection between sleep and how well our bodies fight off infections. Tell me more about how sleep boosts our immunity.
Well, during sleep, our bodies produce a variety of immune cells, including cytokines and antibodies that help to fight off infections. It's like our immune system is working overtime while we sleep, building up its arsenal of weapons to defend against those invaders.
So it's like our immune system is using that quiet time to restock its supplies and train its soldiers, preparing for any potential battles.
That's a great way to think about it. And studies have shown that people who get enough sleep are less likely to get sick when exposed to viruses and bacteria. Their immune systems are simply more robust and better able to fight off those invaders.
So sleep is like a natural immune booster, helping us to stay healthy and resilient. It's another reminder that sleep is not a luxury. It's an essential component of a healthy lifestyle.
Exactly. It's an investment in our well-being, both mentally and physically.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation. It's really eye-opening to learn about all the incredible ways that sleep benefits our bodies and minds. It's not just about feeling rested. It's about giving our bodies the time they need to perform all these essential functions that keep us healthy and thriving.
Me too. And we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to discover about this fascinating and essential aspect of human experience.
I'm already eager to dive into the next part of our deep dive. But before we move on, I want to recap some of the key takeaways from this segment.
Sounds good. What are some of the most important points you'd like to highlight?
Well, we've learned that sleep is essential for physical repair and restoration, hormone regulation, and immune function. We've also explored the role of neurotransmitters like GABA in promoting sleep and the importance of those deep, slow-wave stages for growth hormone release.
Those are all excellent points. And I would add that we've gained a deeper appreciation for the intricate interplay between sleep and our overall health and well-being. It's not just about one system or another. It's about how sleep affects the entire symphony of our biological processes.
Absolutely. It's clear that sleep is not just about feeling rested and alert. It's a fundamental biological process that affects every aspect of our lives, from our mood and energy levels to our ability to learn, think creatively, and even fight off infections.
Yeah. Well said. And with that in mind, I think it's time to move on to the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore the fascinating world of dreams and the impact of sleep on our mental health. We'll delve into the mysteries of why we dream, what those dreams might mean, and how sleep contributes to our emotional and psychological well-being.
I'm already on the edge of my seat. I can't wait to delve into those mysterious realms. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be back soon with more fascinating insights into the world of sleep. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been on this amazing journey exploring the world of sleep. And in the first two parts, we've talked about everything from how scientists define sleep to those incredible things our brains do while we're asleep, like processing emotions and consolidating memories.
Yeah, it's really quite remarkable how much is happening beneath the surface while we're seemingly just lying there unconscious.
Right. It's like our brains are having this whole secret life while our bodies are resting.
Exactly. And we even touched on one of the most intriguing aspects of sleep dreams.
Oh, yeah. Dreams. They've always fascinated people, haven't they? Those strange and vivid experiences that can feel so real and yet so bizarre at the same time.
Absolutely. For centuries, dreams have been the subject of myths, stories, and countless interpretations. But as our understanding of sleep has grown, we've started to see dreams not just as random occurrences, but as potentially meaningful experiences that might actually serve important functions.
Okay, so let's dive into the world of dreams. When do they typically occur? Are they more common during certain sleep stages?
You're right to ask about sleep stages, because dreams are most prevalent during REM sleep. Remember, that's the stage where our brainwaves become remarkably similar to wakefulness, and our eyes dart back and forth beneath our eyelids.
Right, like we're watching a movie playing out behind closed lids.
Exactly. And it's interesting because REM sleep is also the stage where our bodies are essentially paralyzed. So we have this kind of paradoxical situation where our brains are super active, but our bodies are immobilized.
It's like our brains are having this wild party while our bodies are stuck wearing a straitjacket.
Uh-huh. That's a great way to put it. And one of the reasons we tend to remember dreams more vividly from REM sleep is because we're more likely to wake up from this stage of sleep than from those deep, slow-wave stages of NREM sleep.
That makes sense. It's like if you wake up in the middle of a movie, you're more likely to remember the plot than if you wake up after the movie's over.
Precisely. So those early morning hours when REM sleep is most prominent are often prime time for dream recall. But even though dreams are most common during REM sleep, scientists are still debating why we dream at all.
Right. What's the purpose of these often bizarre and illogical experiences? Is there some hidden meaning or message behind them?
That's the million-dollar question. And while there's no single universally accepted answer, there are a few intriguing theories out there that try to explain why we dream.
Okay, let's hear them. What are some of the leading explanations for why our dreams can be so strange and unpredictable?
One prominent theory is called the activation synthesis hypothesis. It basically suggests that dreams are the brain's way of making sense of random neural activity that occurs during REM sleep.
So it's like our brains are trying to create a story, a narrative, out of all this electrical noise, even though those signals might not actually mean anything.
Exactly. It's like listening to a radio with a lot of static. You might start to hear snippets of words or melodies or sounds that remind you of something, but it's all jumbled and fragmented.
I can see that. It's like our brains are trying to piece together a puzzle with missing pieces,
Mm-hmm.
trying to find some order in the chaos.
Right. And because this neural activity is so random, that's why dreams can often be so bizarre and illogical, jumping between scenes and characters without any clear storyline.
It's like our brains are just letting their imaginations run wild, unconstrained by the rules of reality.
Precisely. But even though those dreams might not make logical sense, they could still be a way for our brains to process emotions, consolidate memories, and even work through challenges that we're facing in our waking lives.
So even though those dreams might seem nonsensical, there could be something deeper going on. It's like our brains are working on things in the background, even while we sleep.
That's the idea. And another theory that tries to explain the purpose of dreams is the threat simulation theory.
Threat simulation. that sounds a bit intense.
It does. But it's actually a pretty fascinating idea. This theory suggests that dreams serve an evolutionary function by helping us rehearse for potential threats and dangers.
So it's like a virtual reality training ground for dealing with stressful or dangerous situations.
You got it. According to this theory, dreams allow us to practice our fight or flight responses, develop coping mechanisms, and even work through past traumas in a safe and controlled environment.
So those dreams where we're being chased or attacked or lost,
Yeah,
they might actually be helping us prepare for similar situations in real life.
exactly. It's like our brains are running simulations, giving us a chance to practice our survival skills without any real-world consequences.
Like a dress rehearsal for life's challenges.
Precisely. And this theory might also explain why nightmares, despite being unpleasant, can actually serve a protective function.
So instead of being afraid of nightmares, we should maybe see them as opportunities to confront our fears and anxieties.
That's one way to look at it. Nightmares might be the brain's way of saying, hey, let's work through this. So you're better prepared if you ever face something similar in the real world.
Wow. It's amazing to think that even those disturbing dream experiences could be helping us in some way.
It just goes to show that sleep is much more complex and multifaceted than we often realize. And the more we learn about it, the more we appreciate its importance for our overall well-being.
Well, this deep dive into the world of sleep has been truly eye-opening. We've covered so much ground, from the science of sleep stages to the neurobiology of sleep regulation to the fascinating theories about why we dream.
We have. And I hope our listeners have gained a deeper understanding of this incredible and essential part of human experience.
Me too. Sleep is not just about feeling rested and refreshed. It's a fundamental biological process that affects every aspect of our lives, from our physical health and immune function to our emotional well-being and cognitive abilities.
Absolutely. So remember, prioritize sleep. Make it a non-negotiable part of your daily routine, and those silent hours of slumber will reward you with a healthier, happier, and more fulfilling life.
Until next time, sweet dreams, everyone.